So we did it yesterday from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. My partner, their roommate, and a whole host of other people had a party. And in that party, we watched The Lord of the Rings Extended Edition. Yes, the extended edition. It was long. It was really long. We watched all three movies all in one day. I love those films, but that was a lot. That was a lot. But it was great because all day long we feasted like hobbits. We had snacks aplenty, we had food, we had chips and dip and dried fruits and tea and other kinds of drinks and sodas and beer and non-alcoholic beers, and I think there was wine, and I think there was all the different beautiful things of earth that you can put into your mouth. All that stuff was there, which is pretty cool. We feasted and lived as hobbits. I was taking notes while I was watching those films because that's what I do. I have a section of my notes called while watching ... and then within that tab is all the different movies that I am watching, likely like in a theater or something, and then I write down whatever thoughts I'm having about whatever springs into my mind whenever that movie gives me an idea. And so the things that I really took note of during these three films were the last words of characters who die. Now, of course, spoilers. Uh, Gandalf's famous last words before he dies are "Fly, you fools!" Um, and then he does the most epic thing in any of those movies. My personal favorite scene where he plunges straight downwards, he grabs the sword midair, and then fucking starts attacking and stabbing the Balrog mid-flight as they fall into the great Underdark below. So cool. There's nothing cooler to me in any of those films. So cool. The other last words: Boromir, the human warrior, the great and noble Boromir. His last words are, "My king," before his face goes pale and gray. It's pretty beautiful. And in the third film, King Theoden, his last words is the name of his daughter, Eowyn. A lot of good people die in those books, in those movies. And just to keep you up to date on where I'm at Lord of the Rings wise, here's the content I have consumed thus far. I have consumed the movies, the extended edition. I have consumed the theatrical edition. I have consumed the Hobbit films, of course. I have not read the Hobbit book. I have not read the Lord of the Rings books. I have watched the only book version of Lord of the Rings I have consumed is an audiobook of the first Fellowship of the Ring. That one. It was great. I'm gonna listen to the rest of them eventually, but I'm kind of getting to my fill. Maybe this whole year, I think I've maybe had my fill of Lord of the Rings. Beautiful, but you know. I've also watched the animated Hobbit from like the 70s, and I have watched the first animated Lord of the Rings. That movie, also from the 70s, super weird. Just super weird. The animation is a lot of times beautiful, but there is also this like vaguely live action version that they do sometimes I think it's called rotoscoping, and in that they are able to like take live action footage and make it like grainy and slightly animated enough so that it blends kind of into the animation. And there's this weird moment in that film where fully animated Legolas, who looks derpy as hell in that film, by the way, and I love that. Uh, Derpy Legolas is shooting arrows at live action dudes who are climbing up the walls in Helm's Deep, and it's really funny. It's really funny. So there's that. I'm gonna watch the second half of those films eventually. And in those films, in the second movie, I know the animated one, there's this famous, to me, famous line where some animated orcs sing the song. You know, where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. And that's their marching song. They hurt their friends in order to make them march. Pretty fucked up. I'll say it. Pretty fucked up. Anyway, we love these films. The Lord of the Rings. But the next time I want to watch these films, I would like to watch them in the theatrical cut because I have been only watching the extended edition for quite some time now, to the point where it feels like it's the normal edition. And those movies are fucking long. And I think there's a lot of scenes that they could probably cut from the extended edition. And they have. And it's called the theatrical edition. And I should watch that next time. I'm glad that I watched the movies yesterday. It was fun. Awesome. It was a party. There were so many people. A lot of people that I knew, some people that I didn't know. It was epic. I met a lot of good nerds. A lot of good nerds that day. Got a lot of good D&D ideas that day. Yesterday. Happy. But because we love these films so much, we the nerds, we have taken every scene from these movies and turned them into a meme. Like I am hard pressed to think of a moment in any of these films that hasn't been screenshotted and used to express some kind of memeified emotion on the internet. Like we have really just taken this thing that we love and torn it apart. And of course, it's still all together, but every line is classic at this point. Every line is, it means something, and that's amazing and impressive and awe-inspiring, but also kind of exhausting. Like there's very little moments where it felt like these movies had something new to say. And I know that doesn't make sense because they're old movies and I've watched them so many times, and maybe that's the problem, that I've just seen them enough. I don't know. There were so many moments where I was sitting with all these good nerds and they were lip singing or mouthing along the dialogue that was just about to happen. They knew it so well, so true to their hearts. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I can't quite put my finger on it, but there's something there. I don't want to say that that has taken away the magic, that screenshotting all these and turning them into memes. Like maybe it has in some ways, but the movies are still magical. The moments where Galadriel crackles with lightning and puts her arms in the air still hits. The moments where Boromir dies and says, "My king." every moment that Arwen is on screen. We love all that. So the magic is still there. It's just that there's a lot that is there. Maybe that's it. The party was great. I don't know that I recommend watching all 3 extended edition movies all in one sitting, especially not by yourself. Because like in the middle of it, in the second movie, I took a nap, took a fat nap, and that was very helpful. So I recommend that. Take a nap. But yeah, maybe in 5 years I'll revisit these films. I'll watch the theatrical versions, and I'll report back. 5 years sounds like a good timetable. In previous watches, I would like get together with my friends. 1 week we'd watch the first one, another week would go by, next one, another week, next one, and then we probably split the third movie into 2 watches because it's so much content. It's amazing. I love it. Love it. But maybe I've just watched it too many times. There's also a lot of fighting in these films. There's a lot of time spent in the glory of battle, especially in the second and third movies. Like there's just a lot of like dudes fighting bad guys with their cool swords, which is awesome and all. Don't get me wrong, but it's also a little exhausting. It's just like, okay, these guys are fighting, and they're fighting, and they're fighting. That's rough. It makes you long for the days where you're just bopping around in Hobbiton, which is exactly how the characters are feeling. So they did an accurate and amazing job with those movies. Through and through, I have 0 complaints with the filmmaking. But it's hard to spend all day at war. This has been a capturing of history, a moment for me to speak on watching all the Lord of the Rings films in one day. A Lord of the Rings marathon. It has been completed. Thank you for watching. I must now disappear.